Hey everybody, welcome to Cube Fit Release and Recover. My name is Emily, fitness program manager over at our Fort Collins, Colorado site. Thanks so much for joining, welcome. We're gonna focus on an upper body release. What I'm gonna do normally, I've taught you guys standing up against the wall. I've taught you on the ground. Today I'm gonna be seated. I've just been finding that sometimes it's a little bit easier to stay seated. Just before we get started, if you are going to do it seated with me, when we do this, we want to avoid shrugging the shoulders at any point. So this is going to have us use our torso a lot to move us rather than our legs. So if you feel like that might bother your torso or your low back for any reason, you might want to do this standing up instead. Same thing applies if you are standing up. I'll just show you a different little way of using your legs rather than your torso. But like I said, I'm going to stay seated here. You can kind of decide however you'd like to do it. Let me go ahead and fix this, and then we'll get started. All right, so like I said, we're going to do an upper body release. We're going to start with the back of our traps. So we'll break this up left and right because we never want to cross over that spine or any bony structures we never want to be on. All right, so go ahead, we're going to place that lacrosse ball just on the back of that trap. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to come up against the wall. Notice I'm kind of just keeping that lacrosse ball as close as I can to that spine without hitting that spine. So really important that we don't hit the spine, like I mentioned, but it's really important that we also get as close as we can to that spine, just because we want to make sure we're getting that whole entire region. So as you can see there, might be a little hard to see, but my lacrosse ball is really close to my spine right now, also on that upper trap region. And I'm really just applying this pressure up against the wall and then just breathing through that, adding some motions, really focusing on this back part as close as I can to the spine, just because I have a little bit of a tender spot there. So as you're scanning through these areas, a tender spot meaning an area that's just a little bit more discomforting than the rest of the areas. I like to call them little crunchies, or they might be as big as like a knot. You might be feeling a knot, and that's kind of what I'm feeling here on myself. So I'm gonna hang out on this area, add a little bit movement side to side, and add that pressure and really just kind of breathe through that. And then you will feel at some point this kind of melting sensation away from that discomforting area. And when you feel that, that kind of means that you kind of did its job, you did what you needed to do, and then you can kind of move along and go to the rest of the trap area. And you know, I'm super sore just from shoveling. We got over 2 feet of snow this past weekend. It was really wet snow too. So just sore from shoveling. I did a lot of skiing, some hard skiing. So I'm super tender, and so it might take me a few times to get to this area. I can tell you before the weekend started, I was really releasing this area. I don't know, I've just been maybe sleeping funny on it. Really haven't bothered it working out, I know of. So just a little bit reminder that you don't release all of that right now. You might have to go back on your own time or come to class tomorrow. Haven't really planned what we'll be doing, but just pay attention to that, you and your body. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. So same thing, just placing that lacrosse ball right on the back of that trap. And then remember, we're going as close as you can to that spine without hitting it, and then coming all the way out to the other side of that trap. Excuse me. I was doing this the other day. My legs have been just super tired and a little sore from skiing. And so I wanted to do some release techniques. And so I started on the ground, and then I came up against the wall, kind of seated. And it feels super good. It works, kind of gives your legs a little bit of a rest. just kind of have to be conscious of not shrugging those shoulders at all. But if you want to, you can always stand too. I just decided to switch it up a little bit today. Ooh, lots of little crunchies on this side too as well from me. That feeling is just so, I don't know, it's incredible to me. You can like really feel those knots and can feel kind of that melting sensation. And you're kind of just like, feels so good. All right, let's move along. We're going to go to the rhomboids. So rhomboids are located in between your shoulder blade and your spine. So what we'll do, we'll break this up left and right again, because we never want to cross over that spine. So what you'll do, you'll place that lacrosse ball just in that fleshy region. So in between that shoulder blade and that spine. And then from here, we're really just kind of going up and down. So I went underneath my legs. So I kind of have my feet underneath so I can allow my body to go up and kind of just move myself up and then down. And then you can do slight movement side to side, but be sure to remember you have that spine and that shoulder blade there. And it's not necessarily like you're going to hurt the bones or anything. It just really doesn't feel good. And so another great tip, kind of technique that you can use is you can take those arms, you can cross them and give yourself a nice big hug because you deserve it, of course. But what this does, it also helps open up that region. So allows that lacrosse ball to really get into that rhomboid rather than hitting that shoulder blade or that spine. And then same thing here applies, that if you find those tender spots, really hold that pressure. Want to breathe through it until you feel like the pain, that discomfort has really dissipated, kind of melted away, and then you can kind of move along to the rest of the region. Always have a little bit of a tender spot right above my shoulder blade for whatever reason. But whenever I do this, I always try to make time on that region just to make sure that I'm getting it, I'm not missing anything. Ooh. And yeah, those tender spots can be pretty uncomfortable. And so we want to make sure that you're breathing through that. Don't hold the breath at all. Very important there. And maybe you have to go back to it, like I said, maybe it's just a little too uncomfortable where you have to give yourself a break, go to a different region and then kind of go back to that. That's totally fine. Whatever works for you and your body. That's why I love teaching these classes. It's really about finding what works for you and then kind of customizing that release to that. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. Nice job with that. Again, the lacrosse ball is just in between that shoulder blade and that spine. Woo, super tender over here. Crunchies after crunchies, bunch of crunchies. I got that from when I used to work with people who had musculoskeletal issues, and so I teach a bunch of these techniques to them and customize whatever they were dealing with. And I got that from one of my first clients when I first started. She was like, "Oh, it sounds or it feels like there's just like little crunchies that I'm popping inside me, whether that's potato chips or I always think of those like styrofoam peanuts. So whatever that might be, but it's always kind of just stuck with me. All right, let's go ahead and move along. I know I'm going a little bit past time, but if you can stick around, we have one more region that I want to get to. We're going to go to that posterior shoulder. So posterior shoulder is located just behind that armpit. So you got your armpit here in the front. We're going just right behind there. So what you'll do is you'll place that lacrosse ball right on that region. And as you can see, I'm kind of to the side of the wall here, and that's just so that you really focus on getting that region. For me, it's kind of just a preference thing. I like to hold my arms to my sides. It kind of helps remind me as well not to shrug my shoulders when I'm doing this, and really just utilize that torso or those legs if you're standing to kind of move you side to side and up and down here. So really important you're not using the shoulders to shrug around. Don't want to aggravate the shoulders more than they might already be feeling. So it's important to think about that and just be conscious of that while you're doing this. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. Nice job with that. Ooh, this one feels so good. This is probably one area that I tend to just not hit when I do my releases, but it's definitely one that definitely needs it, and it's just one of those areas that I just don't. It's not part of my routine, but I definitely need to start incorporating it into the routine. It's already a tender spot to kind of start with, so if you're kind of feeling that, maybe you're easing off of your pressure that you're using here. Nice and easy. We're almost there. We got about another 30 seconds. All right, nice job with that. Come out of that nice and easy. Thanks so much for joining QFit Release and Recover. My name's Emily, fitness program manager over at the Fort Collins, Colorado site. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please throw them in the chat box. If not, we'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much, Kate. We'll see you next time.